Hey there, digital world. Welcome back once again to another episode of Spliced In Later. Taking a while to get this thing going. Some very bad technical issues on my end here, but we're finally rolling. Here to do our last movie review of the year to close off 2023. I hope everybody had a really nice Christmas and Boxing Day. I hope you got all the presents you wanted, ate as much food as you wanted, drank as much as you wanted, and hopefully no one had any Christmas fights. And as we roll on to the end, only a few more days until New Year's Eve before Spliced In Later gives you the top 10 movies of 2023 according to this stupid sod who's recording this for you. I thought I'd get one more movie in to see if there was a Hail Mary and see if something that was predicted to be terrible could in fact end up being good. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Now, due to the technical issues trying to get this thing going, due to how just not interested or impressed I am with this movie, I don't think it's going to go particularly very long. I don't think there's that much to say about it, to be honest. But I'm here, I'm committed, it fits in with what we normally do on the show, so let's get down to it. We are reviewing the infamous Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the long-awaited sequel to Aquaman, the smash box office hit from 2018, one of the many superhero films that has made over $1 billion back then. It's taken many, many years to get to this point for the sequel, with the collapse of the DCEU, the restructuring, the retaking over of it by James Gunn, the behind-the-scene issues with James Wan as the director and Jason Momoa, and then the whole Amber Heard, Johnny Depp thing that, everybody knows about, and just a general superhero fatigue, which we are all suffering from at the moment. Plus, from what I heard, there were a lot of trial and error getting this thing out. Some test screenings weren't particularly good, meaning reshoots, restructuring. I don't really know. The point is, it's here. It's one of those movies, kind of like The Flash recently, or even Avatar. It was one of those movies that was just always in the distance, out of reach. They kept saying it was coming, but you didn't really know if the day would ever come you would actually see it. Well, here we are. We're seeing it with our eyeballs, and honestly, it's not worth the wait. Now, let's be fair. It's not bad in the broadest sense, and here on Spliced In Later, we try to be as positive as possible. We don't want to become one of those negative Nellies that's constantly on YouTube. The YouTube reviewers that thrive on just talking about things they don't like, things that they hate, making hour-long videos about why the bi-regeneration on Doctor Who is the end of Doctor Who as we know it, or why Marvel is the death of cinema, or all that sort of stuff, whatever. Very rarely do I go that negative. I try really hard to focus on the positive because at the end of the day, art is subjective. Everybody likes different things. And I'm sure there will be people out there who watch Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and think it's pretty good. And they're well within their rights to think that, because no one is right or wrong in this regard. Speaking for me personally, I struggled with it, but as I say many times before, regardless of what I say to you here, if you want to see it for yourself, if you wanted to form an opinion about it, that's your opinion, you're going to have to see it. Whether you see it in the cinemas or find another way to watch it at some later point in life, that's up to you. And maybe that's mainly what the point of this review would be. But when Aquaman came out in 2018, I honestly liked it. I thought it was pretty good. It was surprisingly competent. It was fun. It was big, dumb, and stupid, but in a refreshing way, which I think we really wanted from the DC at that point, because it had been tonally a mess. I think Wonder Woman at that point had only really been the critically and commercially successful one, and I think Aquaman came along. It's such a silly thing, Aquaman, really, but Jason Momoa is a very charismatic person. He's fun to watch in things. The idea of superheroes underwater in the lost city of Atlantis, whatever, it's an interesting premise, and it was a lot of different things thrown into it. There was a lot of Black Panther, a lot of Thor, a lot of Waterworld. Not all of it worked, but there was a commitment on everyone in it, standing there in their CGI suits with their CGI hair made to look like they're in the water. Aquaman followed the tale of Arthur Curry, played by Jason Momoa, half human, half Atlantean, who's called upon. He gets roped in by Mira, played by Amber Heard, to come down to Atlantis and stop his evil half-brother Orm, the current king of Atlantis, the Ocean Master, from manipulating events so that he can wage war on the surface world, while at the same time dealing with a blood vendetta from this guy called David Kane, aka Black Manta, who wants to kill Aquaman because he believes Aquaman is responsible for the death of his pirate father. It's fun, it's silly, you get some funny performances from Dolph Lundgren and John Rhys-Davies, and even a surprise Julie Andrews voiceover as a Kraken. It's okay, it's pretty good. But that was years ago, and we're at the point now where this movie's coming out, where so much has happened between now and then. Obviously, the DC Extended Universe is no more. With this film, it's Dunskies. From this point on, any DC films that come out are under the new tentpole run by James Gunn and friends. We're getting a new Superman film, some other stuff, Creature Commandos, whatever. It's building a new world. I don't know how some things are fitting into it and some aren't. Apparently, Peacemaker will continue. Blue Beetle will continue. The Batman will be in a different thing. Honestly, we just have to wait and see at this point. I got no clue. There has been discussions about whether this being a sequel to the original Aquaman can still be in this new world. Is Jason Momoa continuing on as Aquaman? And basically anybody in DC will say, oh, it is, just to get you to see it. But I honestly don't think it is. I think this is it. This is the final bell from the DC Extended Universe. So already you've got a lack of purpose with the film when you go to it, because not only can it not build on the established cinematic world, which is a lot of reasons why people go to these movies. If you're going to watch superhero after superhero after superhero, to avoid it being the same thing, there has to be a sense of purpose, that it's all building in a grand scheme of a larger cinematic world with an overarching story. That's what Marvel is currently struggling to keep doing at the moment, and that's what DC can't do at the moment, what with the death of one universe and the beginning of another. At the same time, there's just been so much troubles, both behind the scenes and in front, for the production of this film, making it over 3 or 4 years, completely jiggering the script, reshooting based on poor audience reception, the whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial thing, which potentially damaged Amber Heard's public opinion, meaning as she's the leading lady in this film, can you still make a film with her in it? Should we get rid of her? Are we not allowed to get rid of her because of some other stuff going on behind the scenes? So we have to keep her in there. We have to make her role as small as possible, but she still has to sort of be in it. And then even if she is a terrible person, what's going on with Jason Momoa and James Wan behind the scenes? Are they deliberately making her life a misery because they can't kick her off the thing? I gotta say right now, I got nothing to say about any of that. I think it's ridiculous, that whole Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial thing, that we became these people that just watch this trial on screen and treat it like a reality show. It's the basic form of humanity. It's the whole point why Squid Game came out, which showed how terrible a world would be if humans watched people die for the sake of entertainment. And then what we learned from that is we should do a real life Squid Game. It's so stupid. And that's the sort of thing going on there. So I got nothing to say about that behind the scenes stuff. I can see how it affected the film watching it, but I'm not going to say, oh, it's because no one likes Amber Heard or no one likes Jason Momoa. I think it just adds to a messy production value, which leads to a messy result. Overall, the problem with the film really is that it's tonally all over the place. A lot is going on, but none of it really resonates. It's surprisingly boring. It's not that long, but it feels long, and it can be frustrating in a lot of places. If you'd like to know the basic plot for Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, we return to Arthur's world many years after the first Aquaman. He's currently king of Atlantis. He's married Mira, and they have their own little son, Arthur Jr., who I guess they palmed off to live with his grandfather in a lighthouse. But while Arthur's trying to balance his duties, he keeps saying like, oh, I'm a superhero by day and I go to Atlantis at night, but really, there's no reference to him being Aquaman, the superhero. But anyway, whatever. While he's trying to manage all this and going on, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II returns as David Kane, the Black Manta, who still has his vendetta against Arthur. He wants to kill him. And through his efforts to find a way to kill him, he comes across a mysterious black trident, which sort of possesses him, gives him the power to destroy Aquaman and everyone he loves, with the ultimate purpose though being, if he does that, he then has to go and reawaken this lost seventh kingdom of the seven seas with all these undead monsters. To do that, he's got to cause global warming to get that to happen. And they're going to come out and kill anyone. After a few losses on their front, Arthur decides that the only way he can defeat Black Manta is to free his half-brother Orm, who's currently been imprisoned from the first film, played by Patrick Wilson. The reasoning being that Ocean Master hired Black Manta to help him out in that first film, so only he will be able to find him, know where he's going, follow the clues. So what the movie eventually boils down to, it's a redemption story of sorts for Orm, a buddy cop brother film between Arthur and Orm as they go on a quest to take down Black Manta, and eventually everyone in Atlantis has to rise up and unite to stop Black Manta from unleashing this horde of monstrosities on the world, while also trying to deal with Atlantis trying to wage war against the humans again, and some other stuff going on. But that's basically the main point of it. Okay, so some positives being, I really liked Patrick Wilson in the film. So he's back as Orm. I love a good redemption story. I don't know that much about Ocean Master in the comics. I don't know what his deal is. Most other things I've seen him, he's like the Loki of the DC world. He's always trying to manipulate the people of Atlantis to wage a war that they don't need to do. He wants to be king. He resents Arthur for being a king and being a half-brother of sorts. I don't know if he comes good in the comics, but I do like the story he goes on here, which is understanding who he is, why he resents Arthur, what's going on there, and to see him slowly come around to being a brother and putting honor and duty and all of that through first. And he's got some good comedy moments in there. By far, he's in the movie, he's like the co-lead beside Arthur, and at the very least, that story I found interesting enough. I also thought there were a lot of cool concepts and ideas in here. The direction was quite interesting in some bits. There's essence of a really good story in here somewhere that's unfortunately been muddled with 5 or 6 different inferior stories. And the directing's pretty good, but the problem is obviously being an underwater film, it has to be balanced with underwater CGI stuff, and that looks atrocious. Any action scenes that take place underwater look silly, stupid, ugly, and I don't know what the hell's going on. And there are some comedy bits from specific voice actors which I found charmingly stupid, in my way that I like stupid humor. John Rhys-Davies is back as some crab king, and every joke he says is just so bizarrely dumb that I couldn't help but laugh. He's just like, I lost my claw, no! Stupid. Laughed at that. Randall Park was in the first film in a very small role as Dr. Stephen Shin, as this doctor that wants to find Atlantis. In this film, he's allied himself with Black Manta, and then it's the classic, oh no, maybe he's a bad guy. But Randall Park is always fun to watch. He doesn't really play much different. It's always sort of Randall Park. But I thought he was good. I liked him in that. That's really where the positives end for me, unfortunately. I found Jason Momoa surprisingly to be very difficult to watch. He was obnoxious and annoying. Arthur's been flanderized in this. All his dude bro Yahoo stuff that he does every now and then in the first film in the Justice League, that becomes his entire personality. All it is I want to drink Guinness and I want to scream and yell as I jump around, and I don't understand anything that's going on because I am stupid. That was upsetting, and it just made the fact that he's the star of the film difficult to watch it. Amber Heard is surprisingly in it a little bit more than I expected her to be. I thought she'd be in it minusculely and she'd probably get killed off or something early on. But she actually is in it to the extent that I think she could be in it based on what they decided to do with the story. They've gone in a different direction with this film, with the brothers story and the redemption for Orm. So regardless of what the Amber Heard deal is or isn't, even if she was fantastically glowing in the public eye, even if there wasn't some behind the scenes drama with the director, I don't know what more she could have done in this film with this story. So I think she does the maximum of what she can do. But not just her, there are a lot of characters in here who are all back and they have nothing to do in the movie. Nicole Kidman shows up for 2 or 3 scenes, very clearly does not want to be there, and I don't think she needed to be in the film. Dolph Lundgren's hanging around still. Tamora Morrison's back. He's okay, I guess, but again, he's really just there to go, have a Guinness, Arthur. A lot of wasted talent in here. As I said, there's a lot going on, but surprisingly, it's really boring. There are long stretches where nothing's really happening, or you're sort of watching the same thing happen again and again, or you can guess 7 moves ahead what's going to happen in the next scene, but you have to wait for them to get to it. One of the most really frustrating things, though, is a sense of plot armor, that no one's ever really in danger, nothing is ever life-threatening, and all will be well. I know this was a complaint in Black Widow, where Scarlett Johansson's falling off high buildings and landing on her back, and she just gets up and goes, ooh, ow, even though she's just a human. There are many characters in here that should die. That would probably benefit the story if they did die, because it would move the plot along, give things a sense of purpose and drive. But not just Arthur and Orm, who are, I guess, Atlanteans, so they can take hits. But there are humans in here that get stabbed, that get exploded, they get crushed, and they just go, oh, ow, okay. And 2 seconds later, they're running around like nothing happened. That sort of thing makes the entire movie, like, there's no intensity, there's no need, there's no emotional threat to anything that's going on when everybody is constantly fine, even though they're surviving terrible instances. There is one character that stands next to a door. That door explodes. They are engulfed in a fireball. And 2 scenes later, they're picked up off the floor. They've got like a red scab on their head. Their glasses on their face are not even shattered. And then later on, they're running around trying to sneak around and get out of this other thing. Other characters are hit with laser beams, and they shake that off. One character is stabbed. That character should have died. But he just goes, nope, he'll be fine. And when that's happening, you just sort of go, okay, well, who cares? And that sums up the movie entirely, unfortunately. Who cares? I struggle to even review this for you because I only watched it a few hours ago. Nothing's really sticking with me. I felt every second in that thing. I felt no connection. I felt no need to see what happens with the movie. I didn't care what happened to Arthur. I didn't care what happened to Atlantis. I kind of cared what happened to Orm, but then the understanding of the DCEU's ending, so none of this matters anyway, and then I didn't care. Plus, I never worried that he would die, because apparently everybody can survive everything in this movie. Even the one thing I was looking forward to the most was the advertising for this film implied Black Manta was going to have a much bigger role. He was reduced to secondary antagonist in the first film, which I guess was fine. Ocean Master was a much more engaging villain, which is probably why he's back with a redemption arc in this one. But there's a lot to Black Manta that I thought could have been explored in this film, but he was boiled down to just mind-controlled by some evil CGI creature that I don't care about, and we're only going to see for 2 seconds at the end of the movie before they're beaten. Which means anything he's doing in the movie doesn't really matter. I feel nothing to him because it's not really him. It's a mind-controlled character. Whereas if they'd allowed him to retain some sort of personality, for him to make the decision to be bad because he has this Arthur vendetta, that would have been good. But it's all just noise. It boils down to just big bloated noise. And I'm really sorry. This is so negative. This is not how I want to end 2023. I don't think it's terribly made. It is completely fine. I just cannot in good conscience recommend you go to the cinema and see it, especially during the Boxing Day times where the movie theaters are busy. There are better things to do with your time. Wait until it's available for you to watch some other way, because honestly, unless you really desperately want to see the continuing adventures of Jason Momoa's Arthur Curry, which is a real shame because normally I would say that. He did such a good job as Dante in Fast 10. But look, this may be one of the worst films I've seen this year. Not unexpected from what I heard about it going in, from all the production troubles, from the overarching collapse of the DCEU to superhero fatigue. I didn't expect it would thrill me. But I always hoped for a miracle. Unfortunately, this only gets like a 3 out of 10 from me, which is very low for this show. Some good bits with Orm, Patrick Wilson, John Rhys-Davies was funny. That's not a positive, that's just me being stupid juvenile humor. Some direction was alright, but overall, not really worth going to see, unfortunately, in my opinion. As I said though, don't listen to me. If you want to see it, go see it. Make up your own mind. If you agree with me, let me know. If you don't, feel free to let me know. Let me know how Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the most dramatic, cinematic movie force of all time since Citizen Kane, and I will gladly hear it. Well, thank you very much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed, even if it was negative as hell. Sometimes some good healthy dose of negativity is good, as long as it's not someone going, I hate it, and it deserved to be better, and everyone should feel bad. I didn't like it, but that's it. That's just me. So yeah, in a couple of days, I will be back. I'll be giving you Spliced In Later's top 10 movies of 2023. They're locked in. They're finalized. I left it open in case Aquaman somehow was like, oh my god, but not really. I'm quite happy with the list. It was a really hard list to make. There's been some good stuff this year. It was quite close, especially that number 10 spot. So there'll be quite a few honorable mentions as well. I always enjoy these episodes. It's a good cap to the year. I hope you will tune in and listen to that. After which, we'll take a wee break, and then we'll get right back into it for 2024. I believe in the first week I'll be doing some episodes. I'll be looking at the new Echo show on Disney Plus and reviewing the new musical Mean Girls. So, usual stuff here on Spliced In Later. Not really pushing the boundaries for what we do, but we'll never know. We'll see what happens. Until later this week, I love and appreciate you as always. Again, I hope you had a Merry Christmas and a Boxing Day and all of that. And be kind to each other. Eat your ham. Have good naps, because Christmas makes everybody exhausted mainly. And I'll catch you all soon. You've been Spliced In Later. Adios, muchachos. I'll catch you next time.